wonder who we could hire to do that. If we could hire any band to do Close to the Metal, the intro song, what band should we hire?
The only metal band that I can remember listening to when I was younger, Amon Amarth.
A Monomarth. I don't even know what that is. That's obscure. I was going for like Slayer or something like that, but no.
Yeah,
Slayer.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
to me.
okay. Close to the metal. Anyway, here we are. Hello, everyone. Tuning in right now. This is Close to the Metal. This is our weekly podcast where we talk about computing and different intricate aspects of computing. We get a little deeper into it, and we are talking about a very controversial subject today for some people. For some people, not, but I'm sure we're going to get a lot of comments, which if you're watching via YouTube, go ahead and hop in there and leave us your comments. And just to start off, I'll introduce myself. I am Greg Nibbler, and I am here with...
I'm Brad Burke.
And I am Matt Smith.
Excellent. All right. So the topic today is one that we are all well aware of, especially if you are a Windows user and you have not upgraded. You are getting the updates, the pop-ups all the time on your computer. And if not, then you probably already did it and went through it. And it is Windows 10. The deadline to upgrade for free is coming up, July 29th? 2 days?
29th. That's
29th.
It.
2 days is when the deadline is where you can upgrade for free to Windows 10, or you're going to have to pay. So, guys, let's get right into this here and right now. So they're giving this away for free, but after that, what is it going to cost? Are they saying how much it's going to be to upgrade, or what kind of a detriment it's going to be, like if you don't do it right now?
Yeah, the price if you don't upgrade is going to be the standard retail pricing that is already out there. So. Home edition is, I believe, $99.
Okay.
And if you want to go for like Pro, I believe, okay, Windows 10 Home is $120. Pro is $200. Now you can find it cheaper. There's different ways to do that. For example, my personal favorite is always to get the Windows 10 or any version of Windows, the OEM version, the version that's meant for system builders.
Uh-huh.
Get a little discount on that. It's $100. Still, though, I mean, that's a lot more than free.
Yeah, that's far more than free.
Infinitely more,
Right.
times more.
That is 100 times more than free.
So, yeah, it's going to be expensive. It's going to be what generally, I mean, if you've ever bought Windows in the past, you probably remember it being a little pricey, and it's still pricey. It's still like that, so...
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's also worth noting that, you only got the Windows 10. It's not like they were handing out discs at the store. This was a free upgrade for people who, at some point, did already pay for an operating system. They paid for whether it was 7 or 8.
Right.
You already sunk $100 in, whether you did it, through an OEM copy or it came on your computer, already.
You still paid for it.
You still paid for it.
Yeah.
So this is just, trying to get people to actually come up to their new operating system so they can help support it.
Right. Well, okay, so here's the thing, though. With the new upgrade, are they going to continue to provide, like, free upgrades? Or, I mean, as far as, like, updates and everything that goes along with it? Or are you going to have to pay into a subscription service after that? Like, how are they going to handle that?
All the updates, like the regular Windows updates, are going to continue to be free.
Okay.
For everyone.
For everyone. So if you upgrade right now, you're getting everything for free. There's not going to be some secret
at least
hidden
as far
cost.
as we know so far.
Yeah, and that's what makes me worry about it, is that whether they're going to try to... Because why are they giving it away for free? Why are they giving away everything right now for this? Just to get everybody used to this system?
Well, it's easier to support. It's easier... I mean, for one, it's easier to support in terms of updates, security updates, compatibility, if you get as many people as you can on that new operating system. There are still a lot of people out there still using XP, using 7. And, that's a problem.
Windows 7, that was kind of my favorite operating system. I liked Windows 7. Windows 8, I did not like at all. I didn't like the changes they made on there. It was really obnoxious.
No.
10, you get a little bit of both. For me, I'm never going to use the apps section for Windows. I just don't use it. Like, I'm going to get the program.
Yeah.
The whole apps thing is just worthless to me.
That's not been particularly popular. It's funny. Our managing editor, Nick, was using Windows 7 until yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
So he held off until that
on his
point.
work computer. Yeah. Yesterday, I told him yesterday, I was like, you should probably upgrade that because, there's only 2 more days. And he's like, fine. And a lot of people get into that sort of like, not a rut, but just like you're used to it. Like,
you get used to your favorite thing.
This is what you've been using, and Windows 7 doesn't seem like it's broken for you. Then you're like, why would I upgrade? But with Windows 10 does have a lot of new features, and with 2 days left, I mean, you really
You got to
get on that. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm curious for those of you watching right now too on YouTube, go ahead, hop in there into the comments and let us know what kind of operating system you're using. Are you using Windows? Are you more of an Apple? Are you using Windows 7? Are you happy with Windows 10? Like, just let us know what you're thinking about this. And I mean, I guess the thing for me is if you don't upgrade to Windows 10, like what if Windows 7 really is your thing? Is that, I mean, is it really going to be a detriment to not do it?
Sorry, I was looking up stats on Windows 7.
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I was trying to get it.
I think as far as it being a detriment, yeah, eventually it will be a detriment.
Yeah.
So, the first issue is eventually going to be security updates. Now, Windows 7 has support until, I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but it's still many years out. But there will eventually come a point where you're not going to be getting those security updates anymore, and it's going to be sooner than Windows 10. And you're also going to be possibly dealing with future compatibility issues. Windows 7 and Windows 10 at a base level are really similar. So in theory, anything that runs on Windows 7 should more or less run on Windows 10 pretty well.
Okay.
But there's all kinds of little changes that could eventually come back and result in compatibility issues of one form or another. And also gaming, if you want to use DirectX 12, you need to make the leap up to Windows 10. So, yeah, those are definitely some good reasons to go ahead and upgrade.
Okay. All right. Well, now a couple other questions that I had too, just about doing the upgrade. For me, I did upgrade to Windows 10 when it came out. I did it last summer, one of the first things. And admittedly, it totally screwed up my computer when I first did it. And this was what I was worried about. I was like, okay, I'm afraid when I do this, there's going to be a problem. And there was a problem. It had something to do with a driver. And there was a workaround to fix it, but it just kept restarting my computer over and over and over.
Yeah.
Until I had to get in there and delete this specific driver, whatever it was. Have they worked out some of those problems? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there. If you've waited this long, you're probably nervous that it's going to screw up your computer. And that's what I would be too, because it did happen to me. So what kind of, have they worked on any of those issues, or is that potential still there?
I mean, I haven't seen any, at least recently, any fatal issues like that, any critical errors. I mean, at this point, even, I think before the Insider program turned into the, final release, they had smoothed this thing out pretty well, as far as, there were still bugs and little things, but, critical issues have been few and far between. And, that's saying something for a fairly new operating system.
Right.
But I wouldn't be concerned that you will just break your computer immediately. That being said, I think at least that most people, when they install any kind of new operating system, that you should back up your files to an external drive, format your hard drive, and reinstall a fresh copy. That's how I always do it. I do it like once a year on my systems just to give them a nice refresh, because you don't run into those driver issues or anything like that. You can, restart everything, make sure everything's clean.
So that's your process. Like when you do this upgrade, you just clean everything off of there?
Yep. I take the files that I want to keep, and I put them on an external drive, and then I just wipe the hard drive and reinstall Windows.
What about all your programs and things like that?
I reinstall them afterward.
Reinstall them all.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But, again, like it helps a lot with performance to make sure that you're cleaning off anything you don't want installed. You're helping, keep your hard drive slimmed down, which is always good for paging files and performance and that sort of thing. So
right, that's a process.
It's more tedious.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's a lot of work.
Definitely more tedious.
Yeah.
The question of like, am I going to have any problems when I install Windows 10? Always, it seems to me is just like a question. It's like, well, probably not. I mean, I can't guarantee you anything, and it sort of points to the problem that a lot of people have always had with Windows, which is that Windows is an operating system that runs on a bajillion different forms of hardware.
Right.
Everything from, a netbook from like 2010 to, a 8-core overclocked processor system someone's has built. And everyone wants to know, are they going to have any problems when they upgrade? And the truth is, like, well, I don't know absolutely for sure. Yeah. I think that it's pretty stable. I haven't run into any big problems personally. I've upgraded on a few systems. Upgraded on my mom's old computer. That went fine. It went well. But this is sort of the if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Right.
Rut that a lot of people get into because they don't want to have to deal with that problem. That's a problem right now that they have to deal with. And I think the only real response you can have with it is like, you're probably not going to have a problem. If you do, that sucks, but it's going to be better than realizing 5 years from now that something broke and you have no idea how to fix it because this compatibility thing doesn't work anymore, or that doesn't work anymore, your file types are old, or your security updates aren't available anymore, or whatever. And the longer that you wait, probably the more difficult it's going to become for you. But I mean, we already got the free upgrade going away, so now it's becoming more expensive. Yeah, and the longer you wait, I think probably the more likely you are to run into problems. Because when you make that update, you're going to be doing so many more updates
all at the same time.
All at the same time. So,
like, I've got one issue right now. Like, I still have a Lenovo ThinkPad that does one job. Its only job is to stream this one software, and it does it, and that's it. I don't use it for anything else, but I'm constantly getting the option to update to Windows 10. I don't know if that's even a good idea on a system like that, because I'm like, that alone could break it, because it's such an old. I mean, it just does this one thing, so I'm like, all right. I mean, as long as it does that job well. Should I update that though?
No, see, I think that's the kind of situation where you might not need to. That's the kind of, you're runing one program, it's a single-use system, and things are working correctly, and you aren't having security issues. Down the road, like Matt's saying, you might have issues with something if you try and use it for another program, or, if drivers change. But, I think, the other thing is that you can always claim your upgrade. Like, it's a system-by-system basis, and you can say, I want the upgrade. You can upgrade, and then you can downgrade, or you can... I think there's a way to do it without even installing Windows. You can basically say, like, I want this, but I want to wait to install it. And that way, down the road, if you do want it, you can...
But what, you have to pay for it at that point?
No, that you can... As long as you basically claim it for your computer...
Oh, you don't have to actually do the upgrade.
I don't know if you have to install it or not. I don't know if there's a way to... But I know that...
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that form of claiming it. I haven't used that.
But I do know if you claim it and install it, then you can downgrade back to your previous system right away. And if you want to re-upgrade again later, it's already registered as a Windows 10 system.
Okay. Well, now with the upgrade, I know some people have had some security issues and concerns with the new Windows 10 upgrade. Now, have they been addressing those, or what's going on with that?
I think it'd be more accurate to say that people are having security concerns than issues.
Than actual issues.
Concerns.
It's just more the paranoia.
I think the right word, I get this mixed up, but the right word is probably privacy.
Okay, privacy concerns.
Not security so much as privacy concerns.
Okay, and that Windows 10 is mining all of your data off of your computer and
it's uploading everything on your hard drive to Microsoft servers for them to peruse.
There's a whole team going over everything you've ever
Someone's
written.
sitting there looking at exactly what you're doing all the time.
One person for every copy of Windows they've hired. Just to watch your computer. That's what's going on.
Yeah, that's exactly
that's what I've heard anyway.
Yeah, that's
just start rumors.
There are a lot of people out there who really believe that this is a serious problem. That this is an operating system that is broadcasting a ton of personal data about you and communicating it back to Microsoft servers. And in a number of ways, that's true.
I mean, that is something to be concerned with.
You're also. I think if you're on Mac OS, you're going to be seeing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
That there is. I mean, they've already said that iCloud is. Also sort of a problematic thing. We've seen it get hacked, and people's photos and personal information get spread across the web. Like, you're trusting a company in this case to watch your privacy, and you hope that they're doing a good job with it. This it also brings up the question of France. I think is sort of the most concrete example we have of actual privacy concerns that are being voiced in a reasonable manner.
And what's happening there?
The government has basically issued a number of suggestions or sanctions against Microsoft, saying that there are certain things that the Windows 10 does and the way it operates that go against some of the EU standards for privacy.
Okay.
Most notably, they talk about an advertising ID. So one of the things in Windows 10 is you can enable a little ID, and it's an anonymous code that basically associates you with ads across different apps, mostly universal Windows platform apps. That it's, if you open up the Facebook app or whatever, that it shows ads to you there that are corresponding to other apps you've looked at. It's able to, it's an advertising ID. You get these sorts of cookies all the time browsing the web. If you ever see those little accept cookies, that's exactly what this is.
But you don't expect it on your actual operating system.
Right. That's the issue, is that they're not being clear, or so this statement claims, about the fact that they are assigning someone this advertising ID. even though, again, like one of the things we talked about before, I wrote a piece about privacy in Windows 10 when it first came out, and there were all these concerns. The setup process is very clear. I mean, but the thing is that what they do is they put this thing that's like, oh, you can just, hit use Express settings. It's fine. Just take our word for it. It'll all be okay. Just hit the button and Windows 10. And at this point, you've been spending like 30 minutes installing this operating system and waiting on updates, and you just want to be like, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
But if you click through and you actually look at these settings, all of these settings are there. You can turn off like the advertising ID. They talk about the PIN being an issue. You don't have to use that.
And so this is right now when you do this upgrade. That's something you should do.
Yeah, absolutely. You should go through those settings, read them. I think we have a thing about which settings you should and should not use. It's just a matter of protecting your privacy in this case if it's really a concern for you and you really don't trust Microsoft.
Yeah. I think that Microsoft gets a bad rep on this that's undeserved. I think that a lot of individuals think, okay, Microsoft is spying on me, wants to spy on me. They want to take my data. A lot of this is, of course, tied up into issues with U.S. government surveillance and that whole thing.
Yeah.
But Microsoft is a company that has gone to court with the United States government for things like the right to tell customers when their email is being looked at. Microsoft is not, happy that this sort of surveillance is happening. They're trying to fight it in certain ways, but at the end of the day, if Microsoft can't just be like, okay, NSA, no, we ain't giving you anything.
Yeah.
Eventually someone would probably go to jail.
Yeah.
And I don't think we can expect that Nadella is going to, be like, okay, put the handcuffs on.
Yeah.
Me. I'm not giving you any emails. I mean,
he's not going to be a martyr.
It would be pointless anyway, because then the next person would just give them the data.
Right.
That's sort of a broader issue that has to do with like the entirety of society, and it's not really Microsoft's fault per se that there's the potential that the government could look at your email or whatever.
But if you go down that road,
servers.
If you go down that road, though, would updating to Windows 10 make it easier for that to happen?
I don't
think
so. The only
they could still do it regardless.
The only thing that would be easier that I can think of, and depending on how you use your computer, this might be pretty significant, is OneDrive integration.
Okay.
Which you don't have to use that with Windows 10, but it's certainly made a lot more convenient. So you would be encouraged to store things on OneDrive, more so than with like Windows 7, where it's a lot more separate, and you kind of have to like specifically be like, I want OneDrive. I'm going to download the app. I'm going to make sure I sign up, and et cetera, et cetera. With Windows 10, and it was also like this with Windows 8 to a somewhat lesser extent. You've got your Microsoft account, and you want to have like this whole login, and then that's associated with OneDrive and emails, and et cetera, et cetera. So but the problem is like if you are concerned about that privacy and you don't want to go, don't want to go down that rabbit hole, then you kind of have to be like, I'm going to use some old operating system and just like never use a cloud service and never use email, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Because regardless, if you do anything online.
Like there's really not a lot that you can do to combat that as an individual. It's very, it's except to like support movements that are talking to the government and, try and lobbying to get that sort of the laws fixed.
Just assume.
The law is what it is, and the NSA is going to come get the data one way or another. So,
and a lot of people, I've heard them recommend Linux. They're like, well, I'm just going to install Linux, and that's a great idea. If you really don't trust a company to hold on to your data and to keep track of your telemetry and things like that, but you have to understand, like you were saying, Microsoft is a company that has advocated for user rights before and will again, and with if you install Red Hat, you're not going to have that same kind of support. You have to take that responsibility onto yourself, because if someone wants to get into your system, they can. You don't have those built-in features. In some cases you do. Like, I'm not sure about Red Hat specifically. I just made an example of a Linux distribution, but that's to try and escape this system puts more onus on you to try and protect yourself.
Even if you were using Linux install, you still got to use email.
Yeah.
Don't you? You probably still have a smartphone. That's sort of
your smartphone is broadcasting, I would say, more data about you wirelessly than a Windows 10 installation will, like most of the time.
So basically, I mean, the point of it is that to say I'm not going to install Windows 10 because of privacy, you know what? Like, if you are really that concerned about privacy, I can get that, but don't just make it about Windows 10. Don't do that and then be like using your iPhone and sending a bunch of emails through Gmail and like realize that's a very broad issue and it's not just like the Windows 10 and then you don't install that and no one can get my data now. Like it doesn't work like that.
Imagine the data Pokemon Go is getting from you right now.
Well, yeah.
Well, so again, and if you're just tuning in, we're talking about the Windows 10 upgrade, which is going to be happening. You've got to do it for free within the next 2 days. I don't even know what time it is on the 29th, but the 29th is the deadline.
It'll probably remind you.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll tell you. Too much. Oh yeah. It'll warn you if you haven't done it yet. I'm sure you're getting the pop-up constantly about it, and we're just kind of talking about the different things with it, concerns people have, and where we go from here. So. By and large, it sounds like you guys are very much pro getting the update. Are you pleased with Windows 10? I mean, is it just because that's the only option, or do you actually like how Windows 10 operates?
Windows 10 is awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's easily the best desktop operating system ever made.
Wow.
And
really?
I know people are like, I like Windows 7, like, for example, and I used Windows 7 for a very long time and never upgraded the 8 on my personal computer. But fact is, Windows 10 has features like improved task view, for example, or the Action Center with all its notifications and etc. That are just better.
Okay.
That you simply can't get on older operating systems in many cases. So yeah, like if you're a desktop user, Windows 10 is the way to go. Your computer's not going to be useless if you don't upgrade the Windows 10, but it's just the better operating system. So, what do you think, Brad? Do you I think of any reason not to upgrade to Windows 10?
Well, no, I think one of the things I was going to say is that usability and feedback have been a big part of the development process. Unlike, I think the older versions, especially Windows 8, I think has sort of soured people. I think Windows 7 directly into Windows 10, people might have been more willing to switch. But because Microsoft sort of screwed up the UI and screwed up a lot of the feature set and performance that people liked in Windows 8, it's also made people more wary. And this time around, they've been listening. I think Windows 8, they sort of said, like, this is what our users want, so we're going to give it to them. And that was detached from any sort of, like, actual response.
And then actually asking users what they want.
It was like, this will make people want this.
Yeah, Windows 8 sucked.
Right.
I hated Windows
people
8.
who don't know computers, people who do know computers, all across the board, people were just, like, confused by this. Mm-hmm. And this is a return to, like, everything. If you were a Windows insider, they ask you all the time. Like, I've been getting at home on my audio devices. I hate that you have to, like, open the audio panel to change which audio device you're using. And in the most recent update, they added a thing that lets you just tap the sound, and right there at the top, you can choose your audio device. I used it, and immediately it asked me, like, was that easier? Like, it's the operating system is listening to me. It's listening to me get frustrated having to open my audio panel every 5 minutes, and was like, oh, well, that's easier,
That's that personal person, at Microsoft watching you right there.
The only reason I can think of not to upgrade would be like the example, Greg, that you had earlier of the system that does the one thing and that's all it ever does. That might be an example. A lot of that's going to come to not personal users, but enterprise users who might have a program that they got to make sure it doesn't break. And of course, there's going to be a lot of enterprise companies, a lot of companies, as always, that are very slow to upgrade as a result of that. Maybe if you have a really old system, you're worried about performance, that might be an issue, but it's really hard to tell because the system requirements have hardly changed.
Yeah.
So theoretically, if it runs Windows 7, it should run Windows 10.
Okay.
And then the only other thing I can think of is, like, if you have some older peripherals that are really important to you, you probably should check the driver's report on that because there might be a lack of new drivers. Which could, break your support for those peripherals. That's one of the most common problems with any sort of Windows update, like new version of Windows, is sometimes the manufacturers, well, almost inevitably, the manufacturer of like a printer or a joystick or something decides it's just not economically, viable for us to code another driver update for this thing that, 1,000 people still use.
Yeah.
They don't do it. And then when those people, not realizing, upgrade, they end up with a peripheral they relied on that just will not work.
Yeah.
So, that's something to look into. But other than those like very specific cases,
it's worth it to do the upgrade. Well, now there's also the anniversary update. So is this the same update that we're talking about, or what's going on with that? Windows 10 anniversary update.
The anniversary update is, so basically Windows 10 came out a year ago. Mm-hmm. And the anniversary update is the first like big chunky update.
Yeah.
Since that.
That locks up your computer for 3 hours while it does the reboots.
Yeah. yeah. So it's got a bunch of new features, and like me and Brad, we've been using insider builds. So for us, it's not really going to like be a big thing like when it comes out, because we already have a lot of these features. But if you have not been part of the insider program, as most people are not, when the Windows 10 anniversary update comes along, it's going to be a pretty substantial, probably going to be a pretty noticeable difference for you.
What are the differences?
One of the big differences is Windows Ink, which I think, Brad, you might have more experience using that.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't incorporated all of that, but there are some new features, especially if you have like a Surface device. The pen, it was nice. Like, I mean, we already really like those pens. The writing is really great. It's responsive. And they're adding some new features that'll sort of help bring a more full functionality to that. Because there are times when I sort of feel like I'm trying to write something, I'm trying to respond to something, and trying to like tap with the pen and use the little on-screen keyboard or like writing isn't quite working. They're adding some ruler and drawing features, so you can literally like put a ruler on the screen and put it somewhere and then draw along it with your pen. Cool. There's some more like menu navigation stuff and more advanced customization for the pen coming too. So I haven't spent a lot of time with that. I need to get the Surface Book back out again and check it out. But yeah, that's definitely one that, I hope so, because I really like using the pen, but it does feel a little clunky at times.
So that's going to be part of the anniversary update. What else will you notice just for like a general user if you're not using like Windows Ink?
Big thing for me, and this is one that's kind of hard to detail because there's been a lot of little tweaks along the way, but the Action Center, which is the Windows 10 notifications, right? Since release, with all the new insider builds, that has just been like so nicely upgraded. Like when Windows 10 released, it was really finicky. It didn't always work. I mean, it just didn't work sometimes. Like you would get a notification, and then like an hour later, it would actually show up in the Action Center. Whereas if you had like your browser open or it was connected to your phone too, you would have already gotten that, and you'd be like, "Oh, thanks Windows 10. Yeah, like that's not useful for me anymore." Yeah. And it was really limited in like the context that it could show. But also another problem was that like you pretty much had to have like if you wanted like Facebook notifications, you pretty much had to have the Facebook app installed, like the Windows 10 Facebook app. Like Greg, you said you're not going to use the store. So you had to go to the store and you had to install the Facebook app in order to get those notifications to show up. Yeah, it wasn't detecting properly like if you went to like the website or whatever and like gave it permission. But since then, it's detecting all those notifications very well. It's integrating very well. It's showing them on time. It's showing a lot more context. One of the things I really love is that the notifications now, if someone sends you an animated GIF, it will show it in the notification. Wow. And you can, and any other image, like someone sends it to you, it will pop up there. Oh, like we get this in Slack all the time. Mm-hmm. So someone will send a GIF into Slack and it'll pop up and you'll be like, ha, ha, ha. You don't even have to open your app to do that. And also the Notification Center has all the notifications listed, very nicely, appropriate icons. It works really well. It works better than, any sort of notification for desktops before. So that's, to me, like as far as a practical everyday feature, like that's one of the really awesome ones that has improved dramatically since release. And I think a lot of people will appreciate that.
It's also one of the few features I would say that in a laptop form like this, I use the touchscreen for. That it's really easy to just like, oh, I need to like change my brightness, and I can just swipe from the right. I got like Wi-Fi controls, like notes, brightness, everything, Bluetooth. It's all right there, and I can just
that's pretty great.
And that's why it's called the Action Center and not the Notification Center, because even though I did this gush a lot about notifications. It's also a place where you can control a lot of settings quickly. It's basically just like
That's nice.
It's basically just a place where you can go and do things quickly, be it respond to notifications or change some like basic settings,
System
like computer
settings
or whatever. Another cool thing I noticed is that now I've got the calendar showing me my appointments in a list. I'm not sure when that started happening, but it was pretty recently. It's not happening on this Acer laptop, which is not on the Insider build, so
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
That's one of the things about being an insider is that you sort of just like you open your computer one day and it's updated
oh,
and
surprise.
and then you're using it and you find something new. It's like, oh, when did they add that? That's kind of neat,
That's kind of cool because you guys get to see it as it comes along versus we're all going to get it all at once.
Well, you can get it
One
too.
of those things.
Anyone can join the insider program.
Anyone can. Okay,
And you
so
get one of those cool T-shirts.
you get a T-shirt for it?
Well, I don't know.
I mean,
They're
a
probably
free
gonna sell them.
T-shirt.
They were doing voting.
There was
know.
a thing today. They are voting on the Windows Insider T-shirt. Find the most popular design. So
I voted for the one that has a T-Rex with the little grabby arms.
yeah, I feel like that's
that's
the natural mascot.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, free T-shirts. Now I'm into it. So for the anniversary update, when will everybody be getting that?
August 2nd.
August 2nd.
Yep.
So you have until July 29th to upgrade to Windows, and then you'll get the anniversary update. So even if somebody updates right now, they're not going to have the anniversary update.
Right.
Yeah. Not right away.
Or upgrades.
And that's a rollout, just to be clear. So
Yeah.
like what that means is August 2nd is when it's going to start rolling out to some users, but theoretically, like it could be a week before you see it.
Okay.
Like,
Are they
basically, they do that just so like they don't destroy their update server.
Yeah.
Because if everyone tried to grab it all at once, if they allowed everyone to do that, their server would explode, and that would be terrible. So
That would not be good. Okay.
Which almost happened when they released Windows 10.
Yeah,
Officially, there were
almost
some
did.
severe spikes on delivery networks.
Didn't realize what time it was. So just to sum it up for the Windows update, which you have, if you have not done it, if you haven't done the upgrade to Windows 10, you have a couple more days. These guys are saying, yes, do it. It's worth it. Windows 10, Matt, you said the best operating system ever.
best desktop operating system.
And then the Windows 10 anniversary update is going to be happening on August 2nd, which we have a lot of things to look forward to with that. Sweet. Any final words on Windows 10?
Just upgrade, man.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Just upgrade. Okay. All right.
Don't be the like, oh, you kids in your Windows 10. I got Windows 7.
Don't
No,
be Nick
just-
with your Windows 7.
just upgrade. It'll be fine.
All right. Fine. Maybe I'll even do it on the ThinkPad. I don't know. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. This is Close to the Metal. So this is a lot of fun. We've been doing this show for a few weeks now, where we kind of get more in depth with specific computing issues, and we want to know what you guys want to talk about too. So send an email, podcast@digitaltrends.com, and be sure to check it out. You can share the show, subscribe everywhere. Follow us on YouTube and all of those things. And, of course, check out our other podcasts, which tomorrow, live at 2:30 p.m. right here at digitaltrends.com. We'll have Trends with Benefits, and then between the streams on Friday. Got a lot of cool stuff going on. We want to hear from you. Podcast@digitaltrends.com. Thanks so much. We'll be back next week with another episode.